As you watch this video, we are dismantling the ESOU Discord server. Many of the ESOU projects and websites, like the ESOU podcast, will be terminated. I am officially withdrawing our communities and guilds behind-the-scenes support for ESO, and this channel itself will not be making any serious content for the Elder Scrolls Online going forward. I hope you guys had a great end of the year, and I wish you a great 2025. There's going to be a lot of drastic changes coming from my end regarding the content and platforms we've created and maintained for the Elder Scrolls Online community since 2019, and I'm making this video to explain not just the things you'll be seeing, but as to why I'm doing those things. Because the foundation of this channel, the amazing communal projects we've implemented over the years, and of course the awesome people I've met over the years in my life, have a lot to do with the Elder Scrolls Online. So I strongly feel I owe you guys my community and explanation. Some of you have even noticed me unlisting over 1,000 ESO related videos on this channel, which has reasonably prompted many questions from a lot of you. I've had this creative block for the past, well, however long now at this point, that you guys may have noticed from this channel, where I'm kind of just like everywhere. I just can't get over my creative block, mostly because I'm the kind of person that needs to get everything out of the way, answer your questions, and then move on. And I think the beginning of 2025 is a great opportunity for that. I'm going to talk about why I no longer want to focus on the Elder Scrolls Online in any serious capacity as either a gamer or a content creator. And while some people might look at what I am going to say as typical drama or perhaps superficial, I strongly believe that I have been disrespected, dismissed, and wrongfully suppressed by both the so-called ESO community and ZeniMax Online Studios, to the point that it actually affected my very well-being. Emotionally, it would feel so good right now just to commit to, theatrics and burn bridges in the most egregious manner. It would feel good to get angry and to be incredibly vindictive in the things I would love to commit to. However, I've talked to very good friends and close advisors familiar with my situation on a lot of what I'm going to talk to you about today. And despite not being given professional courtesy in any sense of the word, I will still remain professional. I will not share all of the screenshots I have. I will not break any legally binding NDAs. I am not going to call for anyone to get fired. I'm not going to call for a boycott or anything like that. And I won't name too many names that may all be misconstrued as me losing control of myself. In fact, I wish the best for many of the parties involved, and if my attempt at that level of professionalism makes it seem like I'm lying about what I'm talking about, then whatever. Very recently, on December 9th, 2024, I left the official ESO stream team, or ESO creator program, as they're calling it now. This was a decision that left me oddly feeling a huge sense of relief, and was the culmination of several tumultuous events since the year 2022 that have made me feel unsafe and uncomfortable. To give more context to those who may not know me, I have been playing ESO since 2013's beta phase. In the decade that followed, I have done many world record raid and arena runs. I had led a community initiative called Project Vitality that involved over 250 active raid leads in all 6 platforms and servers for ESO. I helped create ESOU that hosts website tools such as ESO directory, paying out of my own pocket for such things most of the time. I helped host over 24,000 Discord members and teaching and disseminating everything to know about ESO. I founded the Horror Mode stream team on Twitch, which showcased both PvP and PvE endgame content creators, many of whom are now on the official ESO stream team. I've administrated a PvE endgame feedback group with direct developer contact called the Council of Raiders since 2018. I have been Guildmaster of Sempiternal, one of the most influential communities and guilds in ESO's history. I also became one of 10 ESO class or combat representatives to give direct feedback on part of the play race to the combat and itemization developers for ESO. And as a content creator, I was invited to join the ESO stream team by Bethesda/ZeniMax Online Studios in October 2020 and was featured a couple of times since then on TwitchCon. For these obvious reasons, ESO became a big part of my life, to the point I've even named my ferrets after Elder Scrolls things. In 2022, several events occurred, one of which was Update 35, probably the worst patch to ever occur in this MMO's history, which funnily happened after the rather sudden dissolution of the ESO class representative program. But another thing that happened that year before that depressing third quarter of 2022 was something that most people don't know about, and that was the coordinated hate raids in the ESO directory for Twitch and Discord, conducted by a group connected to alt-right and white nationalist movements. The group was led by a disgruntled 5 IQ PvPer, which is why it took place in the ESO sphere initially. And it was my community, my guild, basically on the front lines yet again, shielding a lot of the ESO community, just as it had for multiple incidents and bad actors prior to this specific incident, that noticed what was brewing roughly 2 weeks before those hate raids went into full effect, which ultimately dissuaded quite a lot of streamers to no longer stream in the ESO directory. We sent warnings out to both the hard mode stream team and to ZeniMax Online Studios through the ESO stream team, but for the latter, it wasn't taken super seriously initially and potentially seen as, oh, just another instance of PvP drama, which was extremely frustrating. Long story short, it wasn't until the hate raids started getting out of control, even leaking into other Twitch directories for some of you who may remember that year, and the group trolling a legal customer service rep, that Bethesda ZeniMax Online Studios actually sent legal warnings to the aforementioned individual's physical address and worked with Twitch and Discord, which halted most of what was going on. During the course of those hate raids, attempts to dox and harass me along with some of my streamer friends got to an all-time high. We played it cool, and at least for the hard mode stream team and several Discord servers we could coordinate in as a community of moderators, we mitigated most of the potential damages, though I can't say the same for many others affected. I was verbally told on the phone later on, basically, we're sorry that we didn't take you seriously at first, and that future precautionary measures will be taken, the details of which I will obviously not get into for safety reasons. But after that, a lot of people in my community felt disillusioned with the initial response from the company and the seeming lack of effort in moderating actual very serious offenders, even after we've proven to be right about that whole thing, that some people decided it was no longer worth it to put ourselves on the front line ever again, which was further reinforced by the effects of Update 35. Now, to give context as to what Update 35 was, much of the patch was combat reworking and balancing, which in itself is fine, but the actual proposed changes were nonsensical, extreme, and poorly timed, not even 3 months after the release of the latest expansion, which featured a new raid, where essentially a lot of people's progress in it would be reset due to how much playstyles and even healing itself would change. Of course, the update was announced after the dissolution of the ESO class rep program, which was incredibly bad PR. The creative director at the time made the worst tweets possible that made people feel very invalidated, and it was just not a good time. The announcement of these changes, not even the launch of the actual patch, demolished player trust in the capability of the developers to understand what they were doing with the game. In regards to the aforementioned Project Vitality, that saw over a dozen raids being hosted daily and allowed people who had never raided before to be eased into harder PvE content at a friendly rate, all to show the company that, hey, people are really interested in endgame, and so maybe hear us out on some of many sorely needed ideas for progression reward systems. That project, which involved almost 300 raid leads across Xbox, PlayStation, and PC platforms and servers, that project died almost immediately on the first week of the public testing server. We lost 185 raid leads 6 weeks before Update 35's patch actually went live. Many raid leads and raiders quit the game because the changes were that bad. I tried my best to keep that project alive. It was like our dream baby that ESOU had been working towards for almost 4 years, but it was already predictable, though, as to how fragmented things would become. Just like in 2017's Morrowind patch, we would see guilds and communities turtle up and prioritize themselves rather than some, communal project, which is exactly what happened. And the game is still feeling the effects of Update 35 years later. I still had some optimism, though, and just like all the other patches where combat was, for some baffling reason, changed drastically, we tested all the changes. And when the finalized update 35 went live, we went raiding with a progression group in the new trial. And there's a video I made called The Worst MMO Update Ever that shows my immediate reaction after we realized just how much most groups would be forced to regress and lose weeks, in some cases months, of progression. It was bad. And the next day after that raid, after that video was published, I get asked to do a phone call by a ZeniMax Online Studios CM or community manager. The phone call itself was super awkward. There was a lot of hesitation in the air when it was implied someone higher up had tapped the CM and asked them to talk to me about that video. I was asked nervously if I still wanted to work with them as a ESO content creator, and I was like, sure, I still love the game despite its issues, and I respect the developers. Then I was given a weird lecture about how responsibility comes with power as a content creator, and that I should not make shock jockey content like Howard Stern does, how I needed to be constructive and not emotional. I was warned, or maybe threatened in retrospect, about how the gaming industry was small and other companies wouldn't work with a content creator who was unprofessional. I was told I shouldn't say things that I wouldn't say to a developer's face in person. After that bizarre call, my initial reaction was, man, I must have been way too emotional, or maybe I had made some really crude remarks, and so I rewatched that video, which again, by the way, is still up on YouTube, and unlike some other content creators at the time, it's very clear I did not call for people to be fired. I did not debase the developers. I did not call for people to stop playing the game. I did not send death threats. I said things I would and have absolutely already told face-to-face with developers in person, and I did nothing but convey the reality of the situation with some warranted emotion. I asked a few other people for their input, and at the end of my introspection, it felt bad. It felt like I was a private punching bag for at least one developer or executive over at ZeniMax Online Studios who didn't have the courage to approach me directly, or at least communicate what they really felt to the public, and instead took it out on me for being honest about how people, including myself, were feeling. I was kind of in shock as well, because this was the first time since I joined their creator program in 2020 to basically censor my content, despite the ESO stream team guidelines saying, yeah, you don't have to be a cheerleader, but you should be constructive, which I was. And this was when things got extremely lonely and depressing for me. On one side, I was being used as a punching bag behind the scenes, which I couldn't really talk about at the time. And on the other, thousands of you guys labeled me as a corporate shill or someone who can't be trusted to not speak my mind because I didn't quit the game, despite me trying my absolute best, absolute hardest behind the scenes to speak for you. I felt like I had no way to win. So I just did what I always did. I spoke my mind. I made videos I wanted to make. I made builds I had fun with. I managed my guild. But it did feel lonely and tremendously stressful for me, to the point that I got shingles for the first time in my life and I had to go to the hospital. And 2023 was an interesting year where it became even more clear to me that for some reason there was obvious favoritism and cliques within the ESO stream team. I think that stuff was always there. I never noticed because I never really bothered to involve myself in that kind of stuff because I have better things to do. Another content creator and I, along with some close confidants, felt that we were basically there to fulfill the minority checks at that point, despite them maybe not liking us because we're Asian. You know, you got to have some Asians, some gay people, and certain types on the team because it looks good. I'm not saying that was their intent. However, that's how it honestly felt when some of us were offering, and this is a big deal for those who don't know, we were offering to showcase the Elder Scrolls Online in our front page feature streams on Twitch during Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month or other months, and we were reaching out to coordinate something, maybe to showcase ESO to to everybody else, but we get no response, which led me to just streaming Elden Ring instead of ESO for a front page stream on Twitch, which is, fine by me. I had a lot of fun doing that too. Meanwhile, some others on the ESO stream team, ask for promotional tweets or similar things, and they get a lightning fast response. And it makes you think, like, are some of us being taken seriously? Are we a joke? Are we like an ornament and nothing more to you guys? There's a certain point at which the lack of follow-ups and the severe lack of communication couldn't be attributed to, they're human, oh, they must be busy or whatever, because it's happened so many times. I should also mention that it wasn't just a content creator outreach that some of us were trying to do, like getting more developers onto the ESOU podcast. Our communities offered, despite Update 35, despite the shit shows from the past year, our communities offered to involve anyone from ZeniMax to do casual raids or outside of their usual streamer sphere, or to take them along on content runs and get to know them, to humanize them, essentially, and maybe repair some relations. But again, no serious follow-ups, no meaningful communication. It just felt like they weren't at all interested as a company in being humanized. Or maybe their corporate team thought it was a risk. Or maybe they really were too busy. Whatever. The only person that showed up to one of those things was Kevin, who's fantastic. But those communities also just kind of gave up again on reaching out as, expected. And that was that. During 2023, I was also approached by several ESO stream team members who had the audacity to try to pressure me or request that certain people not be featured on the ESOU podcast, that some videos of mine, in fact, on YouTube be taken down, or that some people they saw in the ESOU Discord, my server, they didn't like should be banned. And I was just fed up with that middle school nonsense. And it just exemplified to me how two-faced, cowardly, and sycophantic some of these so-called team members were. And the kicker here is, as I would find out in 2024, it doesn't matter if you try to play nice or reciprocate or give basic human respect to some of these individuals. They will not stop. They want more, and they just don't give the same respect back. All of this pushed me away from ESO. I started to make a lot less ESO content. That's when I publicly announced in the video that I'm going to step back from ESO, no more build videos. That's when I publicly announced, I may not cover it as much as I used to because I'm burnt out on everything. Amusingly, I was told that video caused a brief stir over at ZeniMax, and a community manager wanted additional clarification from me, suggesting I should have given them a heads up about what I should be doing with my channel or life before publishing the video. Apparently, game developers also don't watch the first 2 minutes of my YouTube videos where I explain everything. But basically, I decided I was going to gradually transition to non-ESO content so that the algorithm machine god wouldn't smite me. I also decided with close friends and advisors that I was going to quit ESO forever in April 2025, as that was going to be the last in-person meetup I would do for ESO, considering how many people reached out to me saying they really wanted to meet me. Leading from the end of the year 2023 into 2024, I had moved from Pennsylvania to Texas, and I was starting to IRL stream with my streaming backpack, taking my audience to go touch grass. And of course, the 10-year anniversary meetups for Amsterdam and Baltimore were announced for the Elder Scrolls Online, which I treated as more of a funerary celebration than a I'm going to play for another 10 years celebration, given the events that had been happening to me up until this point. Hundreds of people told me they wanted to meet me for the first time in person for both events. And I was telling, my partner Becca, hey, we should IRL stream these events because not everyone can make it to Amsterdam in 2024. Not everyone can make it to Baltimore or wherever else in America. We were fully committed. We were willing to pay like $2,000 each for flight tickets, paying like $500 or so for the streaming backpack to go online in Europe. We set aside funds for personal expenses like food, hotel, and suddenly only I was offered by Bethesda ZeniMax through a third-party agency to be flown out for free to Amsterdam, with us having to pay for the remaining costs, including most of Becca's flight costs and so on. Great. Cool. We get there. We're streaming the moment we hit the ground running. We're exhausted but excited, and we're working our asses off. The time zone changes screwing us. And before this event, I had given heads up notices to all of the ESO stream team members months in advance, and I had given heads up notices several days in advance about us streaming IRL. And on the day we landed, I'm DMing certain people as well, including people from my own community, about me streaming, because unlike most IRL streamers, such as Johnny Somali, I wanted to be careful and respectful of people's boundaries. I did not want to get anyone, particularly, VTubers or whatever, on the camera, despite, this being an in-person event that has streamers going to it. I wanted to be respectful and as cautious as humanly possible, because I know what it's like for people to threaten you. I know what it's like for people to try to dox you. So I take privacy very seriously. Beck and I took all the necessary precautions, short of me wearing a cardboard sign saying I was streaming. We had a ring of people around us basically all the time with whoever was, wearing the streaming backpack, being also given the heads up to be careful where they point the camera. We turn the camera down whenever some people approach us. We pinged entire Discord servers, including ESOU, that, hey, we are streaming. And you know what? A lot of people who didn't want to be on stream never came near us and sent us messages saying, oh, I see you, or tapped me on the shoulder from behind to say hi without being on camera. The multi-streams were a success. We had a concurrent 3,600 plus live stream viewers on the first day alone, just on Twitch, which is like 4 times the size of the ESO Twitch directory. We recorded, edited, and published videos to YouTube while we were there covering ESO as an event that garnered more views than the next 5 YouTubers or TikTokers combined, who were also invited there. The ROI, or return on investment, for just me, if you're looking at this from a influencer marketing perspective, outstripped almost everybody else who was invited to that event. And the moment the 2-day event was over, unlike some others who obviously came for a free vacation and stayed a lot longer in mainland Europe after the event, which is more than fine, whatever, we hit the plane in the blue morning and went back immediately. So I don't want to hear any more bullshit from some people about how we took a free vacation when we were so exhausted from working constantly in Amsterdam that we slept the entire 13-hour flight back home from Amsterdam to Houston, Texas. But again, something happened during this 2-day event that at this point, quite a few other ESO content creators, of course, know about. And it was apparently 2 VTubers who pointed their fingers at me and said, oh, this guy is endangering us, or this guy's not being respectful, all based on a sum of 24 seconds of brief exposure out of over 30 some hours of live stream content. I'm going to be real with these 2 content creators. If they ever watch this, no one cares about your 3,000 follower Andy faces appearing on my stream, showing hundreds of people in over 30 hours of live stream content of an event, by the way, during which both of you took selfies with people. But you know what? I remain respectful. I remain professional because, again, I understand the value of privacy. So I get up at 2 a.m. local time in Amsterdam after being messaged about how one of them got caught on camera. I searched through all the VODs, and despite me losing out on the ad revenue, especially on YouTube, which, as a reference, the first day's stream on Twitch got me over $400 in revenue, in ad revenue alone. I take down the VODs. I make sure to go through 12 hours of chat history, skimming through it all real quick to see no one pointed anyone out who requested to not be on the stream. I skimmed through the Twitch and YouTube clips to make sure people weren't trying to dox anyone. I take down the Twitter stream as well. I relay all what I did to this 2-faced individual, and I get no response, no thank you, no acknowledgement. And I was like, oh, whatever, they must be sleeping. So I go back to sleep. The next morning on the second day of the event, I'm getting pulled aside by a community manager, an influencer manager, and getting emailed by the third-party agency about me needing to be careful about IRL streaming and that I should be respectful. That there were 2 people escalating the issue of me streaming to the UK community manager, who apparently got mad at me without, even getting my side of the story. And I'm just so bewildered at this point by all of this. Then, after clearing it up, all up with everybody, taking the financial losses several months down the line, long after the event was over, long after I made it clear that the VODs that were still up are edited versions to make sure nothing or no one sensitive was shown. I get another email from the same community manager about this nonsense, requesting me to take down those VODs from that event. I had gone above and beyond for others, and what I got was, logically, it seemed to me that the community manager was perhaps the medium for these losers to try to censor me or bully me into leaving the stream team. And so I remained polite, but very firmly stated I needed to know who, I need to know what timestamps you're referring to. Otherwise, I'm not going to comply. I don't care if that gets me kicked off the stream team. I'm not going to deal with this nonsense. And I get told there will be a follow-up. And unsurprisingly, given the history of communication at this point with ESO in general, I get no follow-up. A lot less ESO videos are being made at this point, right? I want to live my life because, let's be real here, I don't have much time left, right? And I want to enjoy life. I want to actually enjoy content creation again. And I'm minding my own business harder than every potential New York City witness for Luigi's trial, okay? I'm fed up with all of this, and I'm being advised by others, I'll just stick it out, a little longer. You're going to quit anyway in 2025. One of the few ESO videos I do make in 2024 is about this data mine post that have been going around for a couple weeks in many Discord servers, and videos about how the next PvP update is going to be about a two-team format battlegrounds, which largely turned out to be true, with, of course, crucial information missing. For context, data mines are not against the game's terms of service, and I wasn't the one who data mined that information. And if you go watch that video, which is still up on the channel, I talk for like almost 2 minutes at the beginning about the nature of data mines, how you shouldn't post my video on the official forums because it's not allowed there, how you should be mindful of other people and not spoil it. Again, 2 weeks after this data mine post had been going around. And if you're a YouTuber, you know the damages of losing your audience in the first 20 seconds of a video. So me droning on about the etiquette with this 2-week-old information was, again, me trying to be considerate and professional. Regardless, as you might be able to predict by now, I get a message from a community manager after that video was published, saying they heard from somebody that I somehow hackerman the hard work of the game developers, and that what I'm doing seriously jeopardizes the professional working relationship as an ESO stream team member. And this harsh message is coming at me despite, me and other stream team members in the past making dozens of videos covering data mines, with at least 2 of the other stream team members having data mined things themselves. And it's so tragically funny that anytime I make an ESO video, it just gets more views than so many other creators, which demonstrates just how dead this content space is. Unironically, I have felt at times that they should be incredibly grateful to me for even making positive videos about their game in such a highly saturated and competitive marketplace. But no, instead, I get scolded or reprimanded or threatened. And I message the CM back and tell them what I just told you all about what kind of video that is that I made. And of course, I hear nothing. No follow-up yet again. Later, I find out that the community manager, or whoever told them about the video, didn't even watch the video and just went straight to contacting me. Then comes TwitchCon 2024 back in September. Again, I'm IRL streaming almost the whole time, having a great time with Clytus, Akui, Pain in the Axe, Kieran, Sagetoad, Calmav, Voldasad, meeting old friends, finally in person like Airy, Vivi, making connections with other people in the streaming and gaming industry. I'm talking to Amazon corporate leads about marketing and the current state of advertisements on Twitch. I'm meeting people who actually care about forming genuine human relationships. I'm meeting my partners like Stream Elements. I'm meeting my role models and others who are, inspiring me and reigniting my passion for creating content. I even meet some streamers who recognize me and were like, hey, you were one of the reasons I tried out streaming and now I'm here. And I was so proud of them and myself. ESO as a negative influence is nowhere in my mind, except that Pain in the Axe wants to get deeper into the DJ industry. And he's going to DJ for that small ESO meetup event in San Diego. And as his homie, I'm going to help him live stream his DJ set to his Twitch channel using my streaming backpack so he can use the VOD later for his career. We get to that ESO meetup venue. As I continue streaming, I've invited some friends along, including Destiny 2 and Bungie affiliated content creator Vero, Breaking Bad actor Daniel Moncada, and other Twitch partners I've made friends with. People are taking selfies with me there or talking to me about how they're glad they met me, and I'm setting up the backpack camera to capture Payne's DJ set when something unexpected happens.
Go ahead and raise your hand, then I'll kind of run over because we only have one mic. And we also don't want to block off walkways and stuff, and then comes a fire hazard, and then we all have to leave. So we're all going to behave. The other thing I want to say is, this is TwitchCon, but we would appreciate no live streaming.
Oh. Really?
Really? Yeah, really.
What about Payne's DJ?
Well, Payne is streaming himself. That's different.
From here?
I'm being serious.
No, from here.
Listen, we're not going to start until Nefas puts his camera on.
All right.
The pressure is on.
Bye, Chad.
But he's streaming from this background, just a heads up.
We're not streaming from anywhere.
I felt something in that moment and I couldn't tell what it was. And it wasn't until after I talked to some people about it more that it was the feeling of public humiliation. Like the first time I've ever felt such a feeling in my life. It was super awkward. Everyone's heads and eyes swiveled to me, and I'm just over here not caring about their Q&A session where they will dodge people's questions anyway. I'm just there for Payne's DJ set and nothing else. And initially, I didn't think that interaction was that big of a deal, but my phone started blowing up as my friends that came with me to the event turned to me and whispered to me, "Are you okay? That was weird. What the hell is that? Bro, I got your back." I checked my phone, and there's people messaging me who had been watching the live stream up until that point, commenting on how rude that was, how inconsiderate that was, how it was public humiliation, and on and on. So I'm feeling a little overwhelmed at this point. I go to the front of the venue away from everybody else with my streaming setup and some of my friends. And at this point, I think Payne in the Axe is also a little stressed out because, you know, he can't stream his DJ set despite being told he was allowed to, which got me a little upset for him. After a while, as I'm filling my friends in on the other bullshit that I've talked about already in this video, I get approached by the community manager for a one-on-one conversation, which prompts my friends to go somewhere else in the venue. And I get asked if I was angry about being told I couldn't stream, or it was how I was asked to not stream. I told them word for word, I don't give a shit about this ESO meetup. I was only there for Payne and TwitchCon, which is why I'm there in San Diego. And yeah, it was pretty rude. It was pretty inconsiderate, given the many other options that they could have gone with. Why not pull me aside and ask me to not stream? Or, you know, I had run into them, by the way, while I was streaming and walking around San Diego the day before, and they could have told me that instead. I mentioned that my anger is due to a buildup of many things, and not just this one instance, which just seems to be a pattern of being dismissive of me as a human being. The community manager then offered me 4 minutes to go over all those things, and I just laughed in their face, and I'm like, yeah, no, 4 minutes is not enough. Then I'm offered 8 minutes, as they are needed for the other activities of the event. What ends up happening is about 18 to 20 minutes of me going off on almost everything I have mentioned up until this point in this video. I mentioned that people are telling me to burn bridges after that incident, and I'm cautioned yet again that the gaming industry is small and that basically I wouldn't be able to get opportunities with other companies, which I call bullshit on, because at the end of the day, it comes down to mostly virality, metrics, and relatability for sponsorships or product placements. The typical financial or social success in the creator space right now that we often see has nothing to do with your character or morality, which is super unfortunate. But I mean, okay, terrible example, but we got people pulling 300,000 viewers out here after being accused of having sex with minors. I don't need Bethesda or ZeniMax to measure my worth or success as a human being or a content creator. I don't realistically have a lot of time left in this life. And I'd rather die if I had to play yes man to a company that doesn't care about me in a relationship where I'm giving more benefits to them. Like, after I die, who's going to ask, you know, how many companies was he affiliated with, right? Like, it doesn't make sense. So I said a lot of things like that. And the later conversation got interrupted after the conclusion of the event because pining ESO content creators can't take social cues and just want to know if they managed to get into the ESO stream team. And so, you know, conversations got cut short, and I was just told we'll have more conversations later on in the future about what I, you know, brought up. Of course, no conversations or follow-ups happened since September, and I refused to follow up as I am done giving courtesy. I am done being the person who offers so much to be burnt for no reason. Later on, the ESO Creator Program is announced as a restructuring of the ESO Stream Team, where inactive people were removed, and the remaining content creators would be divided into streamers and content creators, the latter category denoting people who are more likely into videos or podcasts rather than live streams. A few of us, including myself, got moved to the content creator category unilaterally without any conversation, while being told that we'll retain many of the same perks as we did in the ESO Stream Team. But unsurprisingly, that isn't true, as we didn't get the giveaway codes because that was really the only perk of being in the ESO Stream Team. Never mind the fact that I had applied to be in the Stream Team long ago and not some other category. I surmise that the omission of perks was intentional, at least for a few of us, so that we were forced to reach out to ZeniMax about these codes, because that is the logical route to take as a human if you're curious about what happened to your perks, right? I expected that a potential line of inquiry would probably end up being a conversation about the future, what they expect to see, and that if we fall in line and kowtow and promise to be good little content creators, we get those perks reinstated. And you know what? Based on what I saw happen with a couple content creators who I presume did reach out and get reinstated, it seems I was right about them wanting us to reach out, which showed to me a high degree of social manipulation, which should not be the case if you want genuine communication. So I refused to play this childish game of checkers, and the timeline for my quitting ESO and the creator program was accelerated when ZeniMax announced there would strangely be no 2025 in-person meetup as part of their 10-year celebration in North America, despite having hosted one in Amsterdam the year before. Honestly, I was thankful for that announcement, because I don't know how much longer I could have held on, even for people who really wanted to meet me. As I committed to finally leaving this hostile environment, I was notified by other creators that the ESO Creator Program was scheduling some sort of pre-brief meeting with all the creators that would specifically go over the 2024 Studio Director's Letter that would come out on December 17th. Upon hearing that, I promptly sent an email on December 9th, before that meeting even took place, saying I am leaving the ESO Creator Program. I'm uncomfortable. I feel unsafe. Please remove all affiliations with me, and then left the Discord server immediately after sending that email. I was incredibly shocked at that unprecedented meeting people told me about, because I don't recall anything like that happening in the past for the streamer program. I'm not saying what I think is what happened, but to me, it seems that it was a very corporate pre-brief meeting to go over your company's studio director's letter with content creators that aren't even your employees or even contractors, to make sure everyone is on the same page about how to address their audiences PR-wise on some of the things in that letter, to make sure people don't panic or be reassured that ESO isn't dying or going to maintenance mode or whatever. And here's the thing with that. If you require content creators to be your corporate mouthpiece, you have utterly failed at communicating with your customer base. And best case scenario, really, if content creators need to be pre-briefed on the letter but are not being told or softly pushed what to say, shouldn't you have put that clarification in that letter anyway for the rest of your consumer base? I think even calling for that presumably optional meeting imposed a nanometer line between what should be genuine human creative freedom and corporate tyranny. I don't want anything to do with what ESO has to offer. I wish the people over at ZeniMax the best. And I'm not saying all the content creators in that program are suddenly, lying to you or corporate shills, because really, the truth is, some of them are absolute bootlickers scared of being critical, and some of them aren't. Before you ask, yes, some of them even know about all the things I've told you about, but they want the bag. They want the benefits, they want the growth. So they'll stay, which is fine by me. It is what it is. Everyone's got to eat. I'm just giving my final nail in the coffin reason here is all. So yeah, I am done with The Elder Scrolls Online forever. I'm not having fun with the game. I felt like everything I've done doesn't matter anyway. I feel disappointed. I feel sad that it had to end this way. But I also feel a little hopeful for the first time in a while. And no, you cannot have my stuff. If you'd like to support me and come along on the next journey, please do consider becoming a Patreon member or a YouTube and Twitch subscriber, or even getting my channel's YouTube membership. I profusely want to thank every one of you who have supported me for so long, since 2019. And I fervently hope what lies ahead for us is filled with much more fun and joy. And now I want to go over the next immediate plans going forward for myself, my projects, and our community. First, the ESOU Discord will become my community's personal Discord server. I am tired of being taken advantage of and will look instead to prioritize my efforts towards genuine connections. I am a Discord partner, and the ESOU server is a partnered server. It is my belief that a Discord partnership is wasted on the likes of a stagnating Elder Scrolls Online server. Some ESO-related functionalities will remain temporarily, like the ESOU Discord bot and achievement records, as that bot is hosted in, I think, over 1,000 servers. We'll be deleting or maybe archiving most of the channels in ESOU. We will be rebuilding a Discord server for us, so feel free to join the server and give your input on not just the server, but the channel's content direction. The new Discord link is in the video. The second, the ESOU podcast I hosted with fellow content creator Olibo is finished. There will be no more guests and no more episodes. Thank you so much for tuning into our podcast on Spotify and the many other platforms. We ended up with over 200,000 listens in the end. Third, the final iteration of the ESOU website has a deadline of March 1st, 2025. If it comes out, it comes out and stays up so long as one person uses it. If it doesn't come out or if no one uses it, we'll be shutting down the website and selling off the domain. I've been paying out of pocket for the website and projects, as Patreon was only covering a fraction of the cost, which is fine. I really do appreciate the support. I also would say this is partly a business decision because traffic for ESO related things or ESO websites has just plummeted in recent times to the point it's not really worth it, in my opinion. Fourth, the ESO Explorer website, which would have allowed players to preview assets such as costumes, mounts, furnishings, and other things outside of the game in 3D and augmented reality, will be terminated due to cost and potential legal issues now that this video is out. Fifth, the ESO directory website will be kept up until no ESO player, guild, or community uses it. Sixth, the ESOU Patreon has for a while now been changed back to my original personal Patreon link. Seventh, ESOU's market and trading platform ESO Trades, that would have acted as a better Tamriel trade center, in many ways will also be canceled. Eighth, the hard mode Twitch stream team will no longer be accepting applications for the time being, and will also be repurposed fully into a non-ESO related stream team. So if you were trying to get a free ride to the official ESO creator program, go find that somewhere else. Ninth, the ESOU add-on manager, that would have been better than Minion in many ways, including the functionality of copying a different user's settings for specific add-ons, will also be canceled. 10th, Sempiternal as a guild community will focus more on being a multi-game space and will no longer play exclusive host to the Elder Scrolls Online. The kind of community or people that want to call a game their home is clearly not needed by this particular MMO. 11th, after 6 years of me dutifully overseeing the Council of Raiders, I have passed the administration rights of that developer feedback group to Code 65536, so hit them up if you want. Finally, on top of what we have unlisted so far on this channel, I will also be unlisting more ESO-related videos that aren't needed to please the algorithm machine god. We'll also be covering other games or news in the gaming sphere in general that are actually more consequential and important to you guys as gamers and consumers than some preview of awful gambling crate skins. I'm also still working on my tech startup called Posted, if you want to check that out. And that's it. That is it. I'm sure we'll come up with more stuff. And if you made it to the end of this video, thank you for your precious time. I cannot emphasize enough how important your support has been through the years. And I truly do thank you with all of my being.